Okay, AEW Fyter Fest Night 2 of, I guess 3, if you want to count Fight for the Fallen as part of Fyter Fest. Anyway, last week we ended with a Tag Team Championship match. This week we are beginning with a Tag Team Championship match. It's Adam Page and Kenny Omega putting the championships on the line against Private Party. Right out the bat, as Page was being introduced into the ring, he came down without Omega coming out, but he was immediately jacking with Private Party members, Quinn and Cassidy, sorry. And Quinn and Omega actually opened up. Omega blocked a moonsault and threw Quinn into Page's boot. Both men then hit big knife-edge chops on Quinn. Page hit a Fisherman Fallaway Slam. Cassidy tagged in and hit a Tornado DDT. Page and Quinn began brawling into the crowd. Cassidy hit a Springboard Plancha off the second rope. I mean, he jumped up, he hit the second rope, and he actually flipped over. It's kind of hard to say what it is exactly, because it wasn't quite the same as like just, using the rope to slingshot. It's like he actually used it as a propeller in this case. Cassidy hit a sling blade backbreaker on Omega. Both Private Party members hit a double Spanish fly on Omega. They fought back. Page tossed Omega. Got a blind tag, on Omega during a monkey flip. Cassidy moonsault to the outside of the rope. Omega began selling a shoulder injury. Private Party started to go for their Hurricane Rana cutter finisher, and Omega broke that up with a V-trigger, and then Page and Omega hit a lariat V-trigger combination on Cassidy for the 3 count of the victory. Really banger match to start things off. This was a great tag match. Just everything worked, everything was fluid. About the only time it really didn't, there was that moonsault to the outside. It looked like Omega maybe took that wrong, because he really did look hurt during that. But yeah, it was, like I said, just a special match to start things off. Also, Cody was on some show about hot wings. Just thought you'd like to know. Okay, our next match is Joey Janela versus Lance Archer with Jake the Snake Roberts. Before the match, Archer attacked Sonny Kiss and then threw him into Janela during the intros. Janela knocked Archer off the ring apron with a forearm. He followed with a big cross body. He set up a table and grabbed a chair, but the ref interfered and blocked it, wouldn't let him use it. That allowed Archer to rally back, hit a big lariat to the back of Janela's head. Janela began to rally. This happened during the ad break. They didn't do the picture-in-picture on it, so it just came out of the ad, and it's like they showed a couple of moves, and that was it. Janela hit a rolling elbow. Janela countered a crucifix bomb into kind of like a falling clothesline type maneuver. At this point, though, Roberts distracted the ref, and it actually went to Janela and Sonny Kiss's benefit, because they both hit top rope moves on Archer, but he kicked out at 2. Archer then hit his crucifix bomb finisher through the table that Janela had set up earlier for the 3 count of the victory. This wasn't a spectacular match by any stretch of the imagination. It might have been better if, again, there wasn't a giant ad break in the middle of it, or maybe they used that ad break a little bit better. At least have a couple, I didn't even see what moves it was that got Janela back into it. It just, it was it just felt so throwaway. After that, though, we got a Darby Allin video again. He's coming after Brian Cage, and he's practicing a big coffin drop to catch him with it. At this point, Brian Cage and Taz came out. They had a big announcement, and that's that Taz is bringing back the FTW Championship and giving it to Brian Cage, because he is the toughest guy around, and everyone knows it. And I guess Taz conveniently forgot that Sabu was technically was the last FTW champion, not Taz. He wasn't the only one. FTW obviously standing for F the World, and so yeah, it was a belt that he created in ECW because he was going after the ECW championship at the time, and Shane Douglas was the champion, and he kept dodging it. So he said, well, I'm just going to create my own belt. And then they created the storyline where he had to give the belt up to go after the ECW championship, and so he willingly lost it to Sabu after knocking him unconscious. So yeah, that was a weird thing. And, you know, even later, someone else acknowledges that, yes, now Brian Cage is technically some type of champion, even though AEW has never recognized that championship. So, make of that what you will. Okay, our next match is the 8-man tag match. The Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade taking on FTR and the Young Bucks. Right off the bat, Pentagon from the Lucha Brothers took his glove off, maybe like he was going to throw it at Matt Jackson. Instead, he threw it at Dax of FTR. I still can't remember what their names are now. I know it's Dax and Crash. Crash Wheeler and Dax Harwood? Harwood? I'm just going to call him Dax and Crash. Just if that way we know him. Anyway, Dax gets in there, drills Pentagon with an elbow. Crash tags in, puts the glove on, and smacks Pentagon around. At this point, they go, I believe, into a commercial break. We get Blanchard and Sean Spears looking at FTR from the crowd, so maybe they're hinting at a possible managerial spot right there. Matt Jackson, or no, this is where I screwed up. I keep confusing the Young Bucks. I called Matt Nick here. No, Nick, I called Matt, sorry. Nick Jackson tags in, hit the Blade with an arm drag. Pentagon and the Butcher then hit a double team move on Nick. Matt tagged in, hit Phoenix with a springboard Rana. Matt and Crash hit a suplex, super kick into a dragon suplex on, I believe it was Phoenix. Okay, Butcher, it was the Blade. Butcher came in and hit Dax with a big lariat on the outside of the ring. Crash got the hot tag to Matt Jackson. And Matt hit a crazy crossbody, followed that with a flying elbow. Dax and Mac hit a super kick. The Shatter Machine got hit by the Young Bucks, and the Revival went for the Meltzer driver. In both cases, the pin got broke up. Phoenix broke up a Swanton pin. Phoenix had hit Nick, knocking him outside of the ring. At this point, Matt went for a super kick and inadvertently struck Dax. And the Lucha Brothers then hit Matt with their Tiger Driver spike for the 3 count and the victory. Really, again, spectacular match here. I'm so used to 8-man tag matches being kind of clunky just because there's sometimes guys just get left out, but I think everyone got worked in well. The heels were all effective and looked good. And the faces all, I mean, I guess the FTR in this case are kind of faces. But they all worked together and looked well. After the match, FTR and the Young Bucks did shake hands. It didn't seem to go too well. And I mean, it seemed to go over pretty well. I'm sorry. Everything came across pretty good there. So, yeah, like I said, really good match, really well paced. Not really any dead spots even during the commercial break there. And then after that, now we have the special Nyla Rose match and announcement. It's a handicap match against Kenzie Page and Kylan King. This was basically a squash match. Nyla tossed both of them around, hit a slam and a leg drop, and then powerbomb Page onto King for the 3 count of the victory. At this point, Nyla Rose grabbed the microphone and she said, you know, I've seen everyone walking around here with a manager. Everyone's got a manager. You know, it's not the tag chain. Cody's got Arn as a manager, and he's a champion, and Brian Cage has Taz as a manager, and now he's a champion, so I guess Nyla Rose recognizes the FTW championship. So I decided I'm going to get my own manager. I've got my own manager, but I'm not going to show it right yet. I'm just going to tell you right now, this manager is to ensure that I win the championship next time I face Sheeta. So, yeah. Well, like I said, we'll ensure bringing back the championship. We then got another backstage segment with Brody Lee of the Exalted One of the Dark Order checking up on Colt Cabana, who suffered a nasty bruise last week. He got cleared to wrestle, and Lee sort of psyched him up a little. It was kind of weird because if you don't know, the Exalted One, Brody Lee, is a parody of Vince McMahon, and so they're trying to make it look like Vince trying to pep up an injured wrestler who probably should not actually be in the match. So, yeah, like I said, it's a little kind of cringy. Okay, so our next match is the 6-man tag of the Dark Order of Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, and Stuart Grayson against SCU of Chris Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky. Early on, Colt Cabana is trying to still sort of walk the line of babyface, trying to be nice to his opponents, but Lee just yanked him back into the corner. Daniels and Kazarian hit a double team move on Stuart Grayson. Grayson hit a Scorpio Sky with a Pele kick. Tagged in Cabana. Immediately, Scorpio Sky locked him in like a waist lock. It was just too painful for him. He was just kind of screaming. He collapsed in the corner, and then the rest of the Dark Order kind of came down to the ring. And that enabled Brody Lee to get a cheap shot on Sky. Stuart Grayson came back, hit kind of a corkscrew move on the apron, taking out Sky again. Scorpio Sky worked a lot of this match. Kazarian and Daniels were sort of on the outside there. Anyway, Kazarian eventually did get in. He had a flying DDT on Brody Lee. Daniels tagged in. He went for a best moonsault ever on Grayson, but Colt Cabana broke that up. Lee then hit Daniels with a discus lariat and then ordered Grayson to tag in Colt Cabana so that he could get the victory pin. So yeah, again, this sort of weird fine line. They're sort of walking with Colt Cabana. Is he officially in the Dark Order yet or not? It looks like he mostly is now. Like they're even letting him get the pin, and afterwards Colt wanted to celebrate, but the Dark Order just kind of wanted to leave. So again, it's this very weird headspace section that they're in. But it was a pretty good match. I would say Scorpio, like I said, Scorpio Sky maybe worked a little too much. We want to see more Kazarian and Daniels. Like, I know they're kind of on the upper end of the age spectrum there, but still, they could have worked them in a little bit better, I thought. And so we've gotten some announcements for Fight for the Fallout next week. Obviously, the big one is Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage for the AEW Championship. We're also going to get the Elite of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. Cody is going to have an open challenge for the TNT Championship. And we're going to have FTR taking on the Lucha Brothers in tag team action. So that's shaping up to be a really good card right now. I'd say that looks really good. And that leads us into our main event. Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed, against Chris Jericho. Right off the bat, Cassidy comes out. He's still wearing the bloody shirt from when Jericho damaged his ear, and still had it on. He took it off. The best friends came out with him, but he ordered them to the back. He said, "No, I have to do this on my own." Right off the bat, he feigned doing the lazy kick, where he puts the hands in the pockets and very gently kicks the guy. But then he caught Jericho in a headbutt. He followed that up with a suicide plancha to the outside. Jericho came back. He had a backbreaker. Ortiz whipped Cassidy when the ref wasn't looking. Cassidy came back, tried to get a few roll-up pins on Jericho. Cassidy attempted a Superman punch, flew out of the ring. He got hit with a baseball drop kick from Jericho. Jericho hit a delayed suplex to get Cassidy back into the ring. This happened during the commercial break. Let's see, Cassidy came back. He hit a head scissors from the second rope. He hit a super kick. Cassidy blocked a superplex and hit a big splash. Cassidy hit a corkscrew Asai moonsault. He came back with a flying DDT. This is where he really went in and showed the effort that he's capable of and how really great a wrestler that he is, and the uniqueness of his gimmick of, like I said, just kind of being sort of oblivious to the world except when he really needs to be. Ortiz then throws orange juice into Cassidy's eyes. Jericho hit Cassidy with a bat, and then the Codebreaker only got a 2 count. Cassidy hits the Sundog Millionaire in a DDT, but only got a 2 count there. At this point, he got up. He went for another Superman punch, but Jericho caught him with the Judas effect for the 3 count in the victory. Not too terribly surprising in all this. Again, Cassidy's a good wrestler, but he's not, he's not quite on Jericho's level yet, and I don't know if it would be such. It would look really corny if he came out and beat Jericho, or even beat him in like a sort of roll-up section. Which it kind of looked like maybe that might happen because after enough interference from Ortiz and Santana, the best friends came out and attacked the Inner Circle tag team. And that seemed to provide a distraction. That, are they going to have Cassidy actually win this way? And no, it didn't happen like that. So it was a really good match. probably just below the 8-man tag for match of the night, but still very enjoyable. This whole show was really enjoyable. I mean, the only match I would consider to be a dud, well, okay, 2 matches. Janela and Archer was not spectacular, and the Nyla Rose squash match, which barely counts. Again, I love Nyla Rose, but it didn't, it was kind of filler. So, yeah, it wasn't that important. So, anyway, those were the only real drawbacks to this show. Right now, this night is actually getting an A. I think this did much, much better than night 1, I think. Better matches, better storytelling, better building. I think it all worked so much better in this case. Okay, so, yeah, I gave that an A, right? Alright, next video is going to be the review of Palm Springs, the Hulu original movie with Andy Samberg. Then after that, it's going to be the random trade review on Howard Chaykin's American Flag. Next week is Fight for the Fallen. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.